Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at how you can complete the 8th anniversary stage of the anniversary battle event, and basically, well, to cut a long story short, how you can complete the challenges. So the challenges are to use a unit of each typing, doesn't matter if they're super or extreme, and the other challenge is complete within 7 turns. So in terms of this one, gone with a slightly different variation of build, gone for a Kamehameha team, a double Gohan, AGL Gohan lead, gone for a Int Cell, who's going to really come in handy. Basically, we're using the bonus board item for some attack buffs, which is going to help us out in terms of damage. We have obviously the, well, what I consider the highest offensive pairing in the game in Vegeta and Gogeta, the 5th year anniversary LRs. We have Ultimate Gohan, who's going to be here to help mop up with the damage and provide the interrupt from his active skill. And we also, of course, have, I think that's actually it. Yeah, I think that is pretty much everything we need here. So pretty straightforward. Basically how this works, or how this team is going to work, is essentially when we are running it, we're going to have Gogeta and Vegeta as a pairing. We're also going to have the Int Cell kind of just cozy up with Gohan for the most part. And yeah, outside that, that's basically everything we need to know. Obviously need a little bit of luck early on. You can take a fair chunk of damage actually from the Vegeta and Goku. They actually hit relatively hard. Oh yeah, Kaioken Goku, of course. We've got Kaioken Goku here for the damage as well. So we don't have access to a Spirit Bomb because obviously we don't have Reps or Universe 7 category characters, but we do have a pretty decent lineup otherwise, and his damage is pretty good. He actually also exists here to take damage. I know that sounds weird, but his existence is to take damage so that we can have Cell transform. Now, it wasn't purely calculated to be this tight on the deadline, as you're going to see, but it works out in the end. So, yeah, all things considered, everything kind of went to plan here pretty nicely. I even forgot to use the Bulma item until later on, so yeah, pretty good stuff. Usually you will see me use something like maybe a double Piccolo, maybe AGL Gogeta. I'm not saying that plan doesn't work here, but it definitely feels like this team functions pretty well outside of that. So for me, honestly speaking, I think this team is a pretty close call for being as good. Obviously a big condition on this team is having AGL Gohan transform and Cell transform. They're pretty solid units, but when they transform they really get nutty. And yeah, they're probably 2 of the strongest, if not one of the top 5 units in the game, just based off their transformation alone, which is pretty cool, obviously. Outside of that, here you can see, obviously this is what Cell was brought in for. He's going to transform, we get the full heal, which is great, and then that's going to enable us to really just kind of double down and really just kind of nail out this Vegeta and Goku. Ideally, beyond that, that's kind of Cell's purposes for this tech phase, but he can still do some decent damage with his active skill in the next phase. So yeah, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Now obviously the big idea here is that we need to have the boss fall down to half health so that we can obviously use the active skills of Goku of Gogeta and Vegeta. Now how Vegeta's Spirit Bomb works comparative to the Goku Spirit Bomb on the other side. So on this side here you need to do as many attacks as possible. This is also kind of where the Vegeta and Gogeta combination come in handy as well, because they fire off multiple super attacks. Kaioken Goku as well also does decent damage, so he's going to be a pretty good source of damage as well. So all things considered, we have some really solid damage dealing abilities here, but again it is going to come down to a bit of luck. As you can see, Vegeta is pretty tanky, To get him down to half health in one turn is going to be difficult. I mean, this is a rotation of the 5th year anniversary LRs, and yes, they're not fully built up, but I mean, Gogeta's done 3 supers, and he's managed to get him down 1 bar of health. And then Vegeta's going to do a couple supers, but he's going to get him down maybe half a bar. So it is definitely challenging to get, you know, like the Vegeta down to the health threshold required. So that's the biggest kind of issue that we have here. So it's basically a very, very tight window to kind of make this easy. It doesn't mean that that's exactly how you need to beat the stage. Obviously, it's going to depend on dupes. You know, my Gogeta, my Vegeta, they're only at 55%. Realistically speaking, a lot of my units are only at 55% or with 1 dupe. So obviously, the more dupes you have, the better your team's going to do. But yeah, all in all, pretty good stuff, I would say. Relatively solid damage. You can see there, we managed to get 2 bars down. This is where things get a little bit better. So Cell kind of comes in and obviously does a fair chunk of damage, which is going to be very good. His active skill already gets rid of half a bar, and then we're obviously going to follow up with a pretty strong follow-up attack, which is pretty good. And then we have the 2 Gohans who, unfortunately we don't get their transformations, which would make life a lot easier, but we do have them doing type advantage attacks, which does help ultimately at the end of the day. So that's pretty good stuff. And Gohan can do multiple of them, decides to only do 1, but again, not really an issue. Cell comes in, hits a 17 million attack stat, which is pretty good, and then obviously follows up with it as well with a 12 million crit. So Cell really came in clutch there, really just did enough of the kind of chip damage to get him just around about to the threshold we needed him to be at, which is pretty good. So again, all things considered, I think Cell really came in clutch there. Gohan doing a double super as well, also just helping us out. And yeah, we're basically about to bring him to the 50% threshold. We'll use the active skill of Physical Gohan to kind of push him over that threshold. So you'll see here that we have Physical Gohan, we use his active skill, and this brings him below that 50%, and now all of a sudden we have both active skills of Gogeta and Vegeta, and we're going to use both of those as well. For those who don't know, you use the active skills in the 3rd slot, and it activates the entire, their whole passive. Basically both sides of their passive activate, and now you're going to see them really pop off. So really good stuff now at this point. All things considered, the units are going to really do some big damage, and yeah, they should finish off Vegeta. Well, they do finish him off, but this pretty big stuff. Vegeta with an 11 million attack stat, he's going to follow up with I think 4 more supers, which is obviously pretty good, and each of them will be around 7-8 million, so that's pretty clutch. Obviously crits are still important because just raw attack stats don't really help out, so Vegeta doing some crits is pretty important and obviously helps us out quite a bit. So there you go, manages to really push Vegeta down into those final 2 health bars. The active skills themselves also did some decent damage, and his defense afterwards is pretty good, and you can see we're keeping Vegeta and the Spirit Bomb technique quite low. Then we have the Gogeta, honestly coming in clutch with a 14.7 million crit guaranteed. Any follow-up attacks will also be guaranteed crits, which is excellent stuff. We still have a turn to spare, so it's not like we needed to wrap things up here. And Gohan would have taken a fair chunk of damage from the normal. Not huge, but maybe just enough to push us into the bracket for AGL Gohan. But yeah, otherwise pretty good stuff. Honestly speaking, it was a super duper fun little event. And yeah, but that's basically it, and that's all the challenge is done. So I will see you guys in the next video. So until then, take care, stay safe, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. But thank you so much for watching, and bye.